like more efficient. There we go. All right, so we're here tonight to talk about the Educator Academy in the Amazon. And as I said, my name is Krista Dillaball, and I'm the director, and will be your point person for learning about this program and asking questions. But before we get started, I wanted to just give just a little bit of background on who we are. Morpho Institute is a small nonprofit. We actually started in 2018. But we're building on a legacy that goes all the way back to the early 90s. And we are very much focused on the Amazon and having that be sustainable for generations to come. How we do that is through education. We are all educators. I myself, I'm a middle school and high school biology teacher and biologist. And so we're all coming at this mission through the lens of education. And the work of the Morpho Institute is about connecting teachers to the Amazon and connecting the Amazon to classrooms and working with partners in the Amazon that are doing similar work involving education to promote conservation and sustainability. So that's just a little bit about who we are. We have many people online tonight that are part of our team, and I'll introduce all of them a little bit later. But we do have quite a dynamic group of people. Again, almost all of them educators that are coming into this with that background. As we're going through tonight, and I'll be quick with some of these slides, but please do feel free to put questions and things in the chat. Again, we'll keep this informal. If there's a question that you want to ask, feel free to raise your hand, unmute. We will be more than happy to take questions as they come, as well as questions as we move through the presentation. So looking forward to answering all of those for you. So one of the things we certainly want to do is invite you into this experience and into this network. We're over 200 educators strong now, and we're gearing up for 2023, and we can't wait to bring a new group back to the Amazon. So for tonight, what I thought we would want to cover is just a little bit about why the Amazon and why that's so important. I want to give you an overview of the program and where we actually do our work. Talk a little bit about pre-departure prep, and then of course, the ever important travel and logistics and what that looks like. And then of course, answer all those questions that I know you have. So first off, why the Amazon? It's a very special place for all of our faculty. We've spent decades down there, some of us doing this work. And it has sort of ebbed and flowed in the public mind, and it's certainly back in conversation again. In conjunction with climate change, and then also deforestation is really kicking up again in the Amazon, and the implications for biodiversity and climate just go on and on. So we're viewing the Amazon, no longer, of course, it's still a biodiversity hotspot, but it's really a very critical global resource. It's huge. These satellite images from Google Earth give you a sense of just how much of the South American continent the Amazon basin takes up. If you can see my cursor, this dark green area is the Amazon basin and watershed. And this is the actual Amazon River that the origin point is over here almost on the Pacific, and it drains thousands of miles over to the Atlantic. So it's massive. To give you a little bit of more scale, you can pretty much overlay the continental United States over the top of it. And that's about how big it is. 9 countries are actually involved in its conservation. And Peru, where we do our work, after Brazil, is the one that takes up the most territory in the Amazon. So it's a massive resource, and with that, it's also a massive watershed. I think we tend to think about the Amazon rainforest and maybe don't think so much about it being a massive watershed, but I love this image because of the way it just threads all that water that is moving through that system, which is a big driver of how it impacts climate, and both at the regional level and the continent level, as well as even globally. So certainly, people come for the biodiversity, and I'm not going to lie, it's spectacular. These images here are all images that have been taken by participants of the program. These are not stock images. These are things we actually see and have captured. Amazing frogs, beautiful rainbow boa. The birds are incredible. Insects are fantastic. primates are always, we always stop for primates, and then arthropods that, who knew we had purple spotted arthropods. So biodiversity hotspot for sure. About 1/10 of the world's terrestrial species are found in the Amazon. We all know we're in a biodiversity decline right now, and this is a major concern. And so preserving the biodiversity that's in this Amazon is really, really important. Certainly a captivating thing to teach about as well. Paired to that and with that is the human element that we also investigate and explore and work with. The Amazon's home to over 500 indigenous tribes. And I realize this map's a little difficult to decipher, but basically what it's showing is that there's a very strong correlation between indigenous protected lands and biodiversity conservation. The indigenous partners that we work are doing an amazing job of conserving their lands, and we're seeing a real strong improvement in biodiversity in those lands, and we'll dip into that a little bit more. But many of these indigenous groups are highly endangered too, just like the biodiversity that we were just looking at. Their languages are in danger, their culture is in danger, their survival in some instances is in danger. If you caught the news recently, the last man from one of the uncontacted tribes in Brazil was recently found deceased, and that's a whole library that's now been lost. So not to forget that human element that's so important in the conservation, both now and historically. Rainforests just continue to provide question after questions, ones that we haven't even asked yet. If you're not familiar with Dr. Mark Plotkin, he's an ethnobotanist and has done intense amount of work over the decades with indigenous groups. And this quote from him is just an amazing one. And the backdrop is a leaf mimic katydid, in particular a dead leaf mimic katydid. If you didn't pick up on that, here's the antennae, here's a little eye, this is the wing case, just impressive biodiversity, and the questions and the inquiry that come along with that is just fantastic. And yet here we are, we're entering into 2023. Amazon deforestation. We had a little bit of a respite in the early 2000s, but it is amping up even more so, despite what we know about how important the Amazon is. This is a visualization, one of many that we share in different webinars. This shows farming and how it's increasing from the early 2000s all the way into 2017. And we're almost 6 years out from that now. So it's continuing to increase in Brazil. And the headlines that go along with this, go back one. Hold on a minute. Let me go back, sorry. The headlines couldn't be more dire at the moment. And so here at the Morpho Institute, we continue to ask ourselves, well, what is our role in this as educators? We believe in Amazon conservation, and yes, most of us are up here in the US and we're pretty far away, but we do believe that we can have a positive impact, and we do really gravitate towards positive conservation messages too. So it's not all doom and gloom, and it certainly doesn't have to be. And so our approach is, one approach is the Educator Academy in the Amazon, and actually getting teachers into this place, giving them experiences in this place with the biodiversity and the people and the ecology, so that they can bring this back to their classrooms and they can be more effective storytellers for the Amazon and advocates for the Amazon. So this is our flagship program, the Educator Academy in the Amazon. To give you a little bit of history, just a brief history, the very first teacher workshops were started way back in 1992. I attended the second one back in 93 as a very young new teacher. And then flash forward many years, in 2013, we launched the Educator Academy in partnership with Dr. Melina Walters down at Arizona State University. And we looked at the old workshops and said, you know what, there's a whole lot more we can be doing to make this true professional development and make stronger connections back to the classroom, introducing new resources and pedagogies and things in the context of the Amazon. As a result of that work and running that Educator Academy for numerous years, in 2018, we really decided that turning this into a nonprofit was going to be the key to making it sustainable and making it a program that that more people could access, more teachers could access through funding sources and other things. So we're on our way, and we celebrated our 10-year anniversary in the Amazon just this last July with an absolutely amazing group of educators, some of which have been waiting for 2 years to get down there with us. And it was spectacular to get back and be in community with them and get to explore and play and relax and just soak up all the goodness that's down there. So overview of the program and the study sites. Where we're based is up here in northern Peru. So this is Peru outlined in white. Down here is the star is Lima. So you would fly from the US into Lima, and then the only way to get up here to Iquitos is either to go by plane or by boat from the Atlantic. So you'll fly from Lima into Iquitos, where we will start our programming. In particular, we're up here in this area off the Napo River in northern Peru. So here's Iquitos down here in the bottom. This is the Amazon flowing east towards the Atlantic. We come up the Napo and base our work up here in this very, very wild area, very untouched at the moment, part of the Amazon. So that's our home base. A typical day in the Amazon, we pack in a lot of activities and a lot of experiences. We're down there for about 9 days in the actual field, and those days are full. We get up and we do early morning birding and wildlife watching. We have AM and morning field workshops that, again, you're out exploring, learning about the Amazon from our naturalist guides and from our faculty. We're connecting things back to the classroom as part of those workshops. We do the same thing in the afternoon. We have loads of roundtable discussions that focus on not only rainforest content and master classes, but also curriculum connections, various different things like that. And if everybody's still standing after dinner, there's almost always a night hike or a night boat ride or some other evening activity to take part in. So we fill your days up while you're there. You definitely get your money's worth out of this, for sure. Where we are based, we partner with the Amazon Explorama lodges, and 2 lodges in particular, the Explorama Lodge and then the Amazon Conservatory for Tropical Studies. So these are classic Amazon thatch roof open air lodges. The rooms are simple but comfortable. Explorama Lodge is actually located on the Amazon, so our first couple of days will be spent here. We'll spend our first night in Iquitos, and then we'll head out the following morning to head to Explorama Lodge. And you know, again, simple accommodations, comfortable accommodations, but under thatched walkways. The forest around the lodge, this lodge in particular, is really lovely, and it's a great place to kick off the program. The second place, well, and while we're there, you know, we jump right in, and part of it is giving you a chance to just be and get acclimated to the environment and to this new sort of sensory overload in the Amazon. We're exploring, as I said, day and night, learning about tropical botany and tropical ecology, taking in all the plants and their adaptations. And then we also spend a lot of time out on the water. You know, it is a water ecosystem. It's threaded, as you saw on that watershed map, throughout the whole system. And so we take advantage of that, getting out on the water in the morning for birding and wildlife watching, looking at different microhabitats within the Amazon. Again, just taking advantage of every opportunity that presents itself. After we leave Explorama Lodge, we head over to the Amazon Conservatory for Tropical Studies, which we call ACTS. This place is absolutely incredible. The accommodations are a little more rustic, it's a tighter, more compact, it's a field station. So we're in a little bit closer quarters, sleeping under mosquito nets, latrines, and cold water showers. But without fail, every participant says this is the highlight of their experience. And one of the reasons why is because we're so in tight community. You're there with all of our faculty and with all of your colleagues, and we're hanging out together in hammocks, literally sometimes. And then we're also exploring from forest floor all the way up to the world famous Canopy Walkway. We have absolute unlimited access to this site for the 4 days that we're out here, 5 days that we're out here. And so we'll be up and down into the canopy morning, noon, and night. We'll be doing field studies up there, independent studies if you're so inclined. But again, to have as an educator this unprecedented access from Forest, Florida to Canopy Walkway is very spectacular and we think very, very special. It's certainly the reason why we all keep coming back. And this is a view from the Canopy Walkway. It's looking out over an pretty much unbroken rainforest, part of which is ancestral lands for our community partners, the Mayahuna. So I want to quickly, let me just check. Nancy, I know you're probably looking at chat too. Please let me know if I'm missing questions, if anybody has any, just jump in there. But I did want to introduce the Educator Academy team because it takes all of us to pull this off, and all of us are giving our time and expertise freely to this program, which makes it, again, a very unique opportunity. So the Morpho Institute consists of myself here on the right. That's Marissa on the right. I'm right here, and Nancy Troutman, former education director for Cornell Lab of Ornithology, and then Dr. Kelly Keena, who comes by way of environmental education and environmental education assessment and monitoring. And she's currently with the education director for Underwriters Laboratory. And then Marissa is an alum of our program, and she is our brand new administrative and communications coordinator. And she comes to us by way of the Butterfly Pavilion in Denver, and has a background in environmental education and outdoor education and all things related to getting kids outside and people outside exploring. Just happened to have sort of an entomological bent to her background there. We also have absolutely incredible naturalist guides that we have worked with for over the last 10 years. Percy, Roldan, and Cesar are #1 phenomenal human beings, but these gentlemen were born and raised in the Amazon in small villages. And Roldan actually has gone back since COVID and is living in close to his family's village. And they just are an absolute wealth of knowledge and a real treasure and asset and leadership in our program. So super grateful for them, and just absolutely amazing to be back with them again after 2 years of being on hiatus. We also have an incredible team. These women have raised their hands and said, yeah, we want to be part of Morpho, and we want to be part of your take a director role as volunteers. And so Ro Ruiz, she's out at Fresno State out in California. She comes to us by way of outdoor education and public lands, and even did a stint at NASA. And so she's our director of educational engagement, and she just finished her doctoral dissertation on the impact of international professional development and awe in the classroom. So she is just a wealth of information and just a real joy to be with in the field. Katie Filan's on with us tonight. She's a professor, a biology professor at Miami of Ohio. She's also part of the Project Dragonfly graduate program that's run through Miami of Ohio. She is a primatologist, and just, you want to talk monkeys, Katie's your gal, but she's so much more than that. She's done extensive work in Latin America and in Indonesia with community-based conservation and primates and STEM outreach and inquiry, and just brings just such a dynamic perspective to everything that goes on in the field. We also have Dr. Lindsay Swyark. She's on our team. She's our director of research because we're working on some long-term research projects that will be sponsored by the Morpho Institute, based out at ACTS. And Lindsay's at University of Binghamton in New York, and is doing research on shovel-tailed lizards that live up in the canopy at the ACTS field station. Has also done extensive tropical work down in Costa Rica and in the Amazon as well. Randy Morgan, a long-term friend of our program. He's the emeritus entomologist now for the Cincinnati Zoo. But he's been with us on every single program we've ever run in the Amazon, and has worked not only with teachers, but also with students. In addition to this, these fine people, we also have Christy Reddick and Jess Honecker, aka the Bug Chicks. They are doing an amazing work with students and teachers, and getting arthropods into the classroom. Not only are they just top-notch entomologists in their own right, but they're really excellent at communicating and connecting, using bugs to connect to the classroom, even incorporating social emotional learning into that conversation. And have a whole curriculum they've written on that uses arthropods to reinforce some of those really critically important messages. Newest member of our faculty or our team is Rob Naskey, who's on the line tonight, I believe. He's a botanist from the New York Botanical Garden. He was with us. He's been with us twice in the field and was down with us this last summer doing his work, his own research on tropical plants, on sedges, and on mites, and his real specialty though is North American carnivorous plants, particularly these pitcher plants. And it's just been a real delightful addition to our team. And so many of these folks join us in the field, and as I said, they join and volunteer and provide their expertise and their passion for teaching and learning with all of our participants. And they're with us the whole entire time. So you get to have meals with them, you get to have conversations with them. They just don't come in and spend an hour with you and then are on their way. They're really part of the whole experience. And we all learn as much from you as we hope you learn from us. It's definitely that kind of dynamic in the field. Last but not least, and certainly not least, are our Indigenous community partners. We have a relationship that started back in 2018, actually 2017 really, with the Mayahuna of Peru. And their ancestral lands actually are adjacent to the Amazon Conservatory for Tropical Studies property. So that view from the Canopy Walkway, you're actually looking out over about 1 million acres that has been declared ancestral lands of the Mayahuna. And that happened in 2015 after a really long fight. They got that acknowledgement from the government and have been working hard ever since to create sustainable chains of income, support biodiversity conservation, and it is truly a really positive conservation story. And we're just so delighted to be collaborating with them. They are leading workshops for us, and these workshops are led and developed by them. And we were just delighted to be able to bring teachers into this experience as the penultimate learner or learners to come in and work with the Mayahuna and develop these ecotourism workshops that are very hands-on, first-person perspective on Indigenous culture and Indigenous ways of life. And it's not trapped in history. It's happening right now in real time, and these are real people doing the work. And we're just so privileged to get to collaborate with them, and are just delighted to bring another group of teachers into this community and into this collaboration with them. And last, certainly but not least, are all of you. As I said before, this is a very collaborative space and community that we bring together. So the educators that join us in the field are top notch, and they and you bring so much dynamic information and leadership and insights that again, it's a real joy and privilege for us to be able to spend time and learn from you and right alongside with you as well. So we're super excited to bring you into this space if you want to join us. One question that again, as a nonprofit, we continue to wake up every morning and grapple with, are we really able to make a difference and move the dial down there, considering that we're educators, half a world away. And certainly our collaboration with the Mayahuna, excuse me, recovering from a pretty nasty cold, is really a big way that is coming to fruition. And again, it'll be a real joy to introduce you to all of them. Just to give you a little bit more context about where where we are located. this is the Napo River down here, and our study sites are right out here. And the community, the Mayahuna community that we work with, is here in the community of Sukasari, but there's other Mayahuna communities that are here in this hashtag area. And this darker green area is their ancestral lands. And I said it's about 1 million acres. And we've been supporting them through our workshops and through bringing teachers as ecotourists into that space. So we definitely have had an economic impact, and that economic impact has allowed them to push the dial further on their conservation initiatives that they have going on. We go into their community. This is at high water level, nearly underwater, but we'll spend several days in community with the Mayahuna, learning and getting to know them with them on a first name basis. We've collaborated with community leaders. This is Sebastian, who is really the man that got the conservation approval for the ancestral lands, and it's just literally a force of nature. So again, it's been our privilege to get to work with them. Now when we're in the field, a new generation is leading workshops. They have a stingless bee honey cooperative that they're raising these bees in cultivation instead of having to cut down trees and selling the honey. And they lead a huge workshop for us on how they do this and why it's important. And I mean, just fascinating. And it's fascinating to watch how many different people and community members are getting involved. We get to work with Jairo and Victorino, who share all the different fish species that they rely on. And they talk about what it was like when the loggers and the poachers were invading their lands, and how it decimated not only the big game that they still rely on as protein, but also the fish in their waterways, and how excited they are to see these species returning and getting bigger and bigger, and have the opportunity to share their management plan and the successes of that. So again, I think being in community and learning first person from all of these folks really makes a very powerful experience for teachers, but it's also a powerful experience because there is a potential threat of a road that will cut right through the heart of that conservation area. So again, what's our role as educators in all of this? And for the Morpho Institute, it's been about how can we share their story and tell their story that's been so positive so far, and help them and support them in their effort to prevent this road from bisecting their ancestral lands. Obviously, there's a huge, big, long story that we could go into about the why and how of all this, but we'll save that for when we're in the field. And we have some other information on our website if you're interested, and you can certainly reach out and we'll share more about that. But we do feel like we're in community and we're working hard to support them in a variety of different ways, and bringing teachers into that space and sending them home ready to share that story is a big part of what we do. This is, I forgot to take this one out, but when we talk about roads through conservation areas, some of you that are maybe teaching AP, environmental science or bio, it's called the fishbone effect. And when a road goes in, development quickly comes with it. So you can propose a road that's 250 meters wide and promise that none of this development is going to happen, but it's impossible for that not to happen. It's happening over and over across the Amazonia. So huge concern, that road going through. So one of the other things, just quickly, one of the questions that came up, last year is like, I'm one participant said I'm really hesitant to jump on a plane in light of climate change, and so Morpho does offset the carbon footprint, or the carbon. We offset that carbon through our climate action plan. And so part of the program fees that you pay to the Morpho Institute goes into that climate fund, and then that is being used by the Mayahuna Federation to directly fight the road moving through their territories. That 1 million acres is a huge carbon sink, and so keeping those ancestral lands intact is critically important when it comes to climate change for all of us. And so that is again another way that we're trying to do our part as educators. So again, lots more information we could share on that, but wanted people to know and be aware that we're trying to be very thoughtful about our own impact, realizing that we're traveling down there. So pre-departure prep real quick, let me just dip into that. You know, the Educator Academy is not just showing up on day one in Aikidos. It begins in January. We run a whole pre-departure course. This year, we're going to spread that out over lots of time to give teachers lots of time to work through the background readings and collaborate with colleagues and build community. It makes a world of difference when you've got background going in and you've started already thinking about what that looks like and what the possibilities are on how to bring that back to the classroom. So you will be joining when you sign up. You'll become part of the Morpho community. MorphoNet is our online community. Again, we're over 200 educators strong, and this is our hub that we're developing, where we talk about curriculum, we share resources, we answer questions. It's a space where we're starting to do curriculum development and working on projects in teams. So you'll have access to all of this well before departure, and then for as long as you want afterwards. We harness all the good resources that are out there. There's a fabulous resource from Pacific Education Institute on field investigations that are directly tied to NGSS and inquiry-based and 5E. We use that as our guide for field studies in the Amazon because it's such a great tie-in right back to things you can use right in your classroom. With Nancy Troutman's connections to Cornell, we incorporate quite a bit of eBird and birding and all of those things. And so you get a really fun resource pack that is part of your experience too. And then the prep course, we actually for the first time hosted that on Canvas, which I know we're all maybe a little well, we're all more used to it than we were 2 years ago. Let's put it that way. We have 7 modules. We'll kick those off in January, and we'll open up a new module about every 2 weeks. This is not onerous at all. You know, we want this to be enjoyable. We want it to be informative, and we want it to be something that you know, gets you thinking and reflecting not only personally about your upcoming experience, but talking with your colleagues that are going to be joining you in the field, so that camaraderie is built in before we even hit the ground. So again, more to come on that, but you know, just to be aware that this program that you're potentially signing up for is way more than just you know, July 1 through 11 in the Amazon. You can start connecting today via our website. We are continuing to build out our resource bank, articles, research, all of those sorts of things. So we'll be dropping some of these things into the chat. I think Marissa maybe is doing some of that already. If not, we'll make sure you have all of these links before we sign off here. Okay, travel and logistics. Let me just anything. Okay, thanks. Let me we'll go back and review those questions. Hopefully I got a little bit of that for the question that just popped up. Let me just go through the travel and logistics stuff quickly, because that's always a big one. Come on, you can move. Okay, the Academy itinerary, we run the program from July 1 through 11. Basically what that means is you need to arrive in Aikidos. Most people will want to arrive in Aikidos, or flights will force them to arrive in Aikidos on July 1. So we have accommodations arranged for you in Aikidos on July 1. We will actually officially kick off programming the morning of July 2nd when we get on the boats and head downriver to Explorama Live. So as it stands right now, we'll be at the lodge from July 2nd to the 3rd, and then from July 4th through the 9th, we'll be out at Amazon Conservatory for Tropical Studies. July 10th, we'll wrap things up, and you'll head back to Lima, and then you can plan on being back in the United States on July 11th. There is the possibility that there may be a Machu Picchu extension that will be offered, but no details on that just yet. But it's happened in the past, and I'm sure it'll probably happen again. We do, you know, COVID is still in the room. Unfortunately, we do require vaccinated, to be vaccinated for COVID. It is actually necessary to get in and out of Peru. It's necessary at this current moment to even be able to fly within Peru. And so obviously we'll get into all of that, but I just wanted to be right up front with that. Vaccination is required. Obviously complying with whatever protocols are in place come July, both US, Peruvian, and Morpho. And then, obviously we want to safely engage with our indigenous and Peruvian partners, and we certainly don't want to bring COVID down there. So we ran 2 very successful programs this summer, minimal amount of disruption with COVID. And so we feel confident that we can do this again. And, we had to wear some masks for a bit just because of protocols that were in place. Certainly hopeful by July of next year, we'll be in a better place where we can even minimize that a bit more, but it'll all depend on what's happening on the ground. The academy fees, we just got these posted this week. So the program fees consist of 2 parts. The curriculum and resource fees that get paid to the Morpho Institute, that's $825. And then the travel and logistics fees, we use a wonderful partner called EcoTeach, and they handle all of our travel and logistics so we can keep our head in the education space. And so basically room and board and guides, all of that stuff are part of the travel and logistics fees that you will pay to EcoTeach. We are doing our very best to try and keep this program at and minimize the cost to teachers. We know it's a lot of teachers, we want to make it accessible. So we do have some grant funding. We're going to be able to drop the price $200. So your curriculum and resource fee would drop to $625 once you've completed all the pre-departure work and that you've submitted a draft of a potential action plan for your classroom. And of course, working through the pre-departure coursework, we'll all be working on that together. So pretty much you can, if you're committed to that, then the total cost, not including airfare, would drop down to $29.95. But we wanted you to be aware that we are trying to subsidize at least part of this for everybody involved. And these are all posted online, just so you know. So if you're interested in signing up, you probably are all aware by now, registration is going to open up on September 8th at noon Eastern time. We'll have the go button go live, and you'll need to fill out your registration form, and we're going to accept registrations. They're going to be time stamped, and we'll fill the roster based on when those registration forms come in. Within 24 hours of that, when you register, whether it's on the 8th or whenever, you'll get a notification that yes, you're on the roster, or sorry, you're currently on the wait list. If you are on the roster, then you'll have 5 days to get your $125 non-refundable deposit into us that holds your space, and you'll get a link for how to pay that and all of that sort of thing. And then your balance to the Morpho Institute will be due on May 1st, and so you'll know whether you've completed your pre-departure work and all of that stuff at that point. EcoTeach, then we've set up a timeline with them, assuming that people are registering on the 8th of September. You'll need to have a $200 deposit into EcoTeach by November 1st, and then another payment on February 1st, and then your final balance payment will be due on May 15th. Obviously, once you register, you will be hearing a lot from us. We'll have another meeting. We'll walk through all of this yet again, and EcoTeach will talk to you about travel insurance and really seriously consider cancel for any reason insurance. I'm not going to get into all of that tonight, but it's something that we highly encourage, just because things are a little different than they've been in the past. So scholarships and funding always come up. I just released on the main page for the Educator Academy Morpho Institute. We do have some funding available for next summer. We have some small mini scholarships that are $1,000 each, and you're eligible if you're a K-12 teacher actually in a classroom. We also have another little scholarship for $1,000 for any of you out there that may be informal educators that are working at a zoo or an aquarium or a nature center that are not within a traditional classroom, but still would like to join. Those applications will go live on October 15th. So we've got a little bit of time. you are eligible for those, even if you've already registered and you know for sure you're coming. These are reviewed by our advisory team, and it's a blind review. They don't know whether you're registered for the program or not, because we do hold space for these scholarship recipients in the event that you just absolutely 100% have to have funding. To make this as clear as possible, if you know for sure you want to go and you're not dependent on scholarship funding, you want to get your registration and your deposit in, because that does officially secure your space. If you wait, we can't guarantee there will be space on the roster for you come November, December. So if you know for sure you want to go, you want to get that registration form in, and then you can always apply for scholarships and funding when those things come live. Fund for Teachers is another excellent resource. Marissa's going to drop the link to this page that has on our website that has all the links to all of this on there. Fund for Teachers, if you don't know them, competitive grants for sure, but last year we had 5 Fund for Teacher fellows join us, and they were fully funded through Fund for Teachers. So it's a phenomenal organization, and if it's one you don't know about, you need to know about them. The NEA Foundation also has funding, and we've got a link on our website over to their spot, as well as a whole list of other thoughts and ideas about where you might go looking for funding. All right, we hope that you will join us. We hope that you'll come down and find your awe with us. We find it every single year, so we sure hope you'll find it with us as well. But for now, I want to open it up for questions. Again, registration opens on the 8th at 12 Eastern. And I can come back to that QR code, but you've got the link in the chat, I believe. So let's talk questions. I'm going to open up the chat. Feel free to unmute if you've got one. Fire away. Faculty, feel free to jump in here too if you've got anything that you'd like to add. Please.
Yeah, Krista, if I can speak for the folks that I haven't been able to get to chat for, talk about flights and if it's on us or EcoTeach.
As far as is that our flights included in the fees? No, they are not. Flights, you coordinate your own flights. However, we work very, very closely with EcoTeach, and they are an excellent resource in helping coordinate all that and confirming that you're on the right flight. And obviously we'll have many more details on what that looks like and what kind of flights you should be looking at. Does that answer the question? Yes. Oh.
It sure does for me. And then also, how quickly is it gonna fill up?
Well, that's a really good question. In the past we've had a bit of a waiting list. We are seeing like really unprecedented interest this year. Now, whether that translates into everybody like logging in at noon on the 8th and registering, we just don't know. But we really do expect to have a waiting list pretty quickly, just based on the interest and the questions that have been coming in. Kathleen, I'm seeing your question. Any idea about how much flights cost? I can give you a historical perspective on that. It's been a wild ride this last year for sure. I'm currently in Kansas City. My flight all the way into Iquitos ran about $1,400. Other people, depending on when you're flying from, got flights that were well under $1,000 all the way into Iquitos. It really depends on what your home city is and how many legs you've got to get going. So we tend to estimate that it's going to cost anywhere from $900 to $1,500 depending on where you're flying from. We are hopeful that that there will be a dip in flight costs and that those will go down a little bit, but they really didn't get a lot higher this year, which was good. So and we will, once you're registered, we will obviously be touching base on all of that and that. So Rhonda, do you usually have many teacher applicants and there's a process for choosing participants? Rhonda, at this point, it is really first come, first serve, because we can't provide funding for everyone. And a lot of this cost is coming, the teachers have to pay for it themselves or they have to get their own funding. We don't have an application process the way we would if we were offering full funding for teachers to join us. We're hopefully going to get to that point somewhere in the next 10 years. That's our goal. Okay. Yep, I think I answered your question. I think, April, as well. Kathleen, how would you respond to the question of how does this participation in the program directly, indirectly impact students back in the classroom? I hope I touched on that and answered that. I'm certainly happy to elaborate. I'll just say a few more words about that. Again, we come into this space collaboratively, and the whole program is set up to have you, while you're in the field learning all of this wonderful stuff about the Amazon, have the opportunity to talk with your colleagues and your peers and the faculty about what does this look like back in your particular classroom. So the impact is real and ongoing, and you also are going to become part of a network of teachers that are actually doing this and implementing in their classrooms right now. So you have the alumni network also as a resource for making those connections. But the whole program is structured with the goal of making that happen. Again, it's going to be different for every individual teacher, depending on what grade level and what their priorities are. But yeah, that's what drives everything we do. So hopefully that answers the question. All right, what else? What other questions? I know we must have some, so feel free, please, to unmute and fire away. And faculty, feel free to jump in if you've got anything you want to add.
I just have to say that this looks fantastic. I would love to be able to do this. I'm so excited at this point. I'm going to try to figure out how I can get the funding to do something like this with you all.
Well, we would love to have you. And again, and Rhonda, just so you know, and everybody else that's on the line, I mean, we're committed to doing this over the course of the year too. So we'll start offering webinars, and those are open to anybody. They're not just for teachers that are participating in the program. And so we welcome everybody to jump into our community, and when the time's right, get to the Amazon with us.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Okay, good. Andrea, how safe is it? Viruses, snakes, spiders. We take our safety down there very seriously, of course, because it's a different environment. There are things down there that we, when we're on the trails, we're careful. We're not like, bushwhacking, all those sorts of things. I have to say that for the most part, because the Amazon is so big and so vast, and when we look at the map, we're in this very wild area. It can take some actual work to see some of these things, snakes in particular. So despite what you might see in some of the more popular movies, they quite literally are not hanging from every tree, as much as some of us might want them to be. But yeah, the lodges are, checked carefully. The trails are kept clean. We've never had any issues. As far as viruses, I'm guessing you're talking about just general immunizations and travel related health viruses. Let's put COVID in brackets for a minute. There's some things that you'll want to consider, and you'll want to consult your doctor with. Malaria can be down there, but it's not been a problem too much recently. But that's something that some people will want to take. Most importantly, you'll want to make sure all your regular immunizations are up to speed, and your tetanus is up to speed, all those kinds of things. And it's not advice that we can give directly just for liability reasons, but consulting with your doctor, your basic travel health stuff is all you're really going to need. And I think I already spoke to the COVID piece of it. So, but we are out in the middle of the Amazon, and that's part of the magic of it too. You never know what you're going to encounter while you're there. And I also have to say, we have incredible naturalist guides, and those guys see things, 5 miles before we do. So, they're really good at keeping us safe as well. All right, anything else?
Krista, if you don't mind, I just wanted to if you weren't sold yet, just how important you coming into the Amazon is for all of us. And so as I wear many hats, but my researcher hat, the fact that you get to translate the scientific stories and the conservation stories of the Amazon and connect to the next generation is such an important role. And we just are so excited, and I always take so much away from all of this. And so this is a two-way street, and we love having the exchange with all of you, and we look forward to learning from you and all the great things you do in your classroom as well.
Thanks, Katie, very much.
Krista, I'd like to add to what Katie just said.
Yeah.
As Krista mentioned, I'm the geeky botanist, and I'm in heaven when I'm there. Really, I mean, I'm surrounded by incredible diversity. It doesn't get any better. But what I've come to learn, and the reason why I'm completely hooked and I'm thrilled to be part of the faculty, is that I love the human element part the best. And I'm talking first about the wonderful people involved in Morpho Institute programs, because I'm surrounded by world-class people, people who are capable, who are creative, but are also very compassionate. And Krista and her team do such a great job of planning everything so well and also being flexible. And it's just exciting to be around other people who are into biodiversity, but then, as Krista pointed out, also the indigenous people, the Maihuna, especially that human element, learning that culture and interacting with warm, inviting people. I thought going into it that the Maihuna might be very private and hard to get to know, but it's actually just the opposite. So the other thing is, back to the biodiversity, plants, of course, but there's always something to see. So it's very exciting all the time. So that's my 2 cents worth. I hope it helps, but that's why I am hooked.
Well, we love having you. Thanks, Rob. All righty, folks. I'm gonna honor our time here. I hope you've gotten the information that you need. Feel free to reach out to me directly. I think if you didn't put it in there, Marissa, did you put our emails in there yet in the chat? Yes, Kathleen, yeah, I'm going to send out the link to everybody that was on the call tonight. I'm also going to post it on the website tomorrow. Maybe tonight, if I can get it up tonight, if it processes that fast. But yeah, and feel free to reach out. Make sure you're signed up to get newsletter information. And we hope to see as many of you as possible in the field with us next summer. We'd love to have you. So have a fabulous Labor Day weekend. For those of you that are still in the last throes of summer, soak it up. For those of you that are already back in the classroom, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you for all you do as educators. You know, those of us that have been out of the classroom for a while are just continue to stand in awe of everybody that's still doing that good work. So appreciate you all very much and look forward to talking with you more. Everybody have a good night. Thanks everybody for joining us.
Thank you so much.
All right, have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.